Hi, this is Josh Marshall, and this is the Josh Marshall podcast featuring Kate Riga. Today, we have a special edition of the podcast. We mentioned in the last episode that this podcast, which is the last podcast of the calendar year 2025, is this is a bit like we do in the Jewish tradition. How is this podcast different from every other podcast? In any case, this one is different because this one is the award ceremony for the Golden Duke Awards. And the Golden Duke Awards go back to 2007. The name comes from the now late Randy Duke Cunningham, who was a member of the House of Representatives from like suburbs out of San Diego. Can't remember exactly where his district was, but that general area. And he got involved in this sort of like totally boffo scandal back in, I think it first hit in 2005. It sort of made its way into 2006. He was on one of the intelligence communities, and he was just taking bribes for like everything. He even had notoriously even had a bribe menu. For this level of bribe, you can get this contract. I mean, it was like that. The great reporting on this was done by the local reporters, who I believe were part of. They were part of San Diego Union Tribune. I believe it was part of Knight Ridder. I may have that off a long time ago. But in any case, the scandal first saw the light of day because it came out that someone had bought Duke a house, right? It was one of these things where I think what it was is that someone bought his, $500,000 house, $500,000 house for like 1.5 million, and then he turned around and bought a new house for one. So in any case, it all came out from there, and the reason it is named the Golden Dukes is because of him and that whole scandal. And this is the 17th annual version of these awards, and it is that cartoonish, absurd dimension of that scandal, which is why it is named after Duke Cunningham. Because even the idea of having an awards show for scandals sort of tells you what we are about. We are not in the mode of tut-tutting and being overly serious and judgmental. We are celebrating your corruption and your kind of absurd levels of deception and betrayals of public trust and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that is what the Golden Dukes are. And this is the award ceremony. So what Kate and I are going to do, we're going to go through the categories, and we are going to announce the winners. And as many of you know, we come up with the categories. We, the TPM staff, come up with the categories, and then readers vote on the winners. So this is like kind of one of these, People's Choice Awards kind of thing. And we are about to announce the winners. So before we get started, Kate, any thoughts you want to share on the general topic of the Golden Dukes?
I would say that reader contributions are often, win a lot of the time. So, thanks to those who participated. And I guess to kick it off, we're going to start with the meritorious achievement in grifting. Okay, our nominees are Winnie Greco, Let the Chips Fall Where They May, Relaxium's very own Mike Huckabee, Tom Cashbag Homan, and the Trump family shady meme coin. So to kind of bring everyone up to speed in case you've forgotten any of these, Winnie Greco, this was actually my entry. She was one of these like wackadoodles in Eric Adams constellation. She had gotten in trouble before, indictment something, I don't even fully remember, but by this point I think she was like technically a liaison between him and the Asian American community. And this episode was so every single part of it was baffling. She tried to give a local reporter for the outlet, The City, like a bag of potato chips that had some money in it for like totally unclear reasons. Like you get I mean it's a bribe, I guess, but what she was bribing, like the topic, the nature of it, it ends up only being like a couple $100 or something, so it's kind of pathetic on top of it. Um so I loved that anecdote. That was so Eric Adams in a microcosm to me. Grifty but stupid and
It's
weird,
just silly and like what he and it.
strange.
If I'm remembering this right, the reporter was like, he, the reporter just said, some version of what the fuck, what, like, and sort of closed up the potato chip bag, as though that's an official thing, right? Resealing the potato chip bag here, and I guess what took it to her boss. I mean, so she like was totally caught off guard, was not was not in on
At the
it.
beginning, she
Eh,
thought she was trying to give her food. She's like, "I'm not hungry, I'm fine." Like
yeah, and that like I guess at the beginning it wasn't even clear because my recollection of this is that the reporter just saw money and that was enough. That
mhm.
led to the resealing of the bag, took it to her, I guess, editor. I think, took it to the police. But at the beginning, because I was talking about this on like Blue Sky, and the editor of the City came on and said, "Hey, we actually don't even know how much money's in there because
Yeah,
we
they
saw
didn't
money,
touch
we closed it."
anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, yep.
So that's a
Um,
pretty good one. That's I have a I've got a favorite here, um, but that's a pretty good one.
I also like it because I think sometimes the Dukes suffer from recency bias,
Yeah,
and that is
yeah,
one that actually did happen some time ago. Okay,
yeah.
Relaxium's very own Mike Huckabee. I actually had to Google this. I hadn't caught this the first time around, but I guess it's become kind of a thing for Huckabee that he will happily shill for stuff and
Yep.
including kind of low shelf embarrassing things to shill. And here this is some kind of, touted as a sleep aid, but in his commercials he was saying it was clinically proven to get you better sleep. And that whole episode ended with a class action lawsuit because turns out this is some kind of garden variety, herbal supplement that doesn't do anything to help people sleep.
Well, and also that's that's always the supplement. I mean, and look, there are some supplements that actually do things. I mean, there are things that the FDA, there are things that have long histories of that do certain things, and you can take them to do those things and all that kind of stuff. But in the supplement industry, they have this whole vocabulary, almost all of which is based on not saying clinically proven because that actually means something. They usually have little disclaimers even on the package, not proven to do anything, notwithstanding what we just said in the commercial, right? So yeah.
Okay, next we have Tom Homan, who I feel that this story is actually the best takeaway from it is that details can make reporting so much richer. Like,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
this story kind of would have dissolved into the ether even faster than it did if not for his cash bribe coming in a kava bag. It's just so evocative,
yeah.
and like anybody who, I assume kavas are everywhere, but especially if you're in kind of a metropolitan area, it's like the example of like the fast kind of office workers lunch that it's in a bowl, you have your order down pat, you order on a screen, it's done really fast. It's just so kind of like, I don't
Yeah,
know, something
it's
about
all business. You're not there for the
yeah,
atmosphere.
right. They're
You're
just the
not there for try something
corporate.
new.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The whole, like, kind of corporate, like, you get your calories in and you'll get them in fast. It just
Yeah.
really adds a nice gloss to this tale, I think. I don't even remember what was his bribe about in the first
Well,
place?
this was the bribe. as far as we knew, was you give him money, and when he becomes what he became, the sort of the czar of immigration, he's going to hook you up with a contract, a DHS
Right, right,
contract
right, right,
tied to
right.
the all the bonanza of money. And the other I mean, there is another way in which that was so essential, because we didn't really know much more than that, right? And his defense has been, hey, I was an immigration security consultant. Lots of people were paying me. I was in business. Why are you making this payment a big deal? And the obvious rejoinder was, do you frequently get paid cash in a bag? Is that, that in a sense, that was like, we as the news consumer, that's all we had, but that was all we needed, right? Because as it played out, he he that was his defense. Like, yeah, I didn't do anything illegal. Who cares what the details? Nothing illegal. And people would say, like, but you got cash in a bag, and like, you know, cash in a bag. This is mine, because you know, it's funny, because next up we have a meme coin, which is, on the blockchain. It is tied to that Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. And I was telling someone recently how, I, I know there are lots of people into, like, there's nothing inherently bad about crypto, except that I'm actually used, notwithstanding these two things being next to each other in the award ceremony, the thing of being paid in cash in bags. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with crypto. There's nothing inherently wrong with being paid $10,000 in $100 bills in a brown paper bag. But the people who get paid $10,000 in brown paper bags are criminals. Just, that's how the world works. And I feel the same way about crypto. It's awesome and all, but like, it's all about crime.
Our
So,
last nominee there is the Trump family's shady meme coin. So, kind of infamously at this point, they have Trump coin. We may never quite
isn't there
know
a
kind of.
Melania coin too? Like,
I
there's a
think
lot of them.
so.
Like,
We
kind of
might,
uh, after runs, or also
yeah.
rans in the Trump coin
And we might
world.
just never really know the extent of the grift that has come about with these coins, because it's notoriously kind of hard to, purposely hard, right, to kind of track money in, money out. But, it's a pretty convenient way for people to launder money to Trump in a pretty unscrutinized method. So, with that,
So what do you
Jack.
are we gonna
Oh,
say, like, what do you think? I don't know what it is. My heart is with Tom Homan.
I'm gonna have to go with my own entry, of
Okay. All
course.
right. All right.
Even though
Let's
I
see
think
what
it's too niche to win, but
it is.
not
Kind of,
everybody can
it's
have
very New
a
York, but yeah,
not everyone
let's
can
see.
have good taste. So, all right, our
Okay.
winner, Jackie, the Trump family shady meme
Oh,
coin. It, it won with 60% of the vote, and our colleagues right here, which shout out to Nicola Fond. I think she did the majority of the work on this, but they say, even though we tried to keep Trump himself out of the competition, anytime his name was mentioned in a submission, it won. Yeah, that's tough.
yeah,
That's tough.
yeah, yeah. It's you can't. The brand is just strong.
And
You
the
kind of
runner
can't.
up, there we go. Josh is
Okay.
the
All right. Well,
Homan
okay.
is the runner up with 30% of the vote. And it says, as a reader put it in their nomination, Homan's quote, simple yet brazen approach, old school bag, and only 50K in cash was a reminder of days gone by. Yeah,
It is
quaint.
old school. It is quaint.
Yeah.
It's a bygone time. All right, I kind of I feel sort of vindicated. It's sort of like, if, like, I don't know, you're doing like the acting awards at your high school, and like Robert De Niro somehow was in the play. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like, I mean, come on. Like, what do you need to focus on runner up, right? Cuz it's De Niro, and that's so,
Totally.
yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So what do we have
Okay.
next?
Our next category is Best Support Hatchet Man. Okay, our
Okay.
nominees are Bill Pulte, the housing henchman. He's the one who keeps nailing people for having, small mistakes on their mortgage paperwork. Um, DOJ weaponization czar Ed Martin. This is Eagle Ed, right? I feel like he's kind of fallen out of the news recently. Like he started hot, bright.
Yeah. Well, when he was U.S. attorney, he was like in
Yeah,
the he's kind of in semi-exile now.
that's true. Okay, perplexed prosecutor Lindsay Halligan. This is the one who kind of got popped into, what was it, Virginia, one of
Yeah, like
the
Eastern District of
Eastern
Virginia or so yeah.
Virginia,
Yeah, yeah.
when nobody else. That was Comey, right? No one else would sign the Comey
Yes.
indictment.
Correct.
That's why she got
Correct.
the spot in
Correct.
the
Yep.
first place.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now there's like the all this court proceedings about if she was kind of properly uh, appointed in the first place.
Yeah, that they had put I think what it was is that they put a previous fairly normal guy who actually resigned because he
Right.
wouldn't do the Comey indictment, but he was there as an interim. So without, all that thing, you have a certain kind of time frame for interims, and then they tried to uh get her in as another, and you can't do that, and it's pretty straightforward. And so even though uh the Comey indictment was probably wanting in various ways, that well, the key here is that normally the US attorney is not the one actually indicting people. It's a managerial role, right? And so as the woman in New Jersey, Alina Habba, is that her name?
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
you can sort of pretend you're US attorney kind of indefinitely, because if you're not doing something that you need to be there legally to do, there's kind of no way to kind of pry you out of the seat. But Halligan, because no one else would do it, actually the US attorney actually went into the grand jury room, and she was not a US attorney, and that's how they got rid of it. All right, anyway, long-winded, but there you go.
And
So
our
poor
last
Ed
one
Martin.
is Trumponomics enabler Scott Bessent.
I feel like that's a dark horse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. This one's kind of hard for me because I think Bill Pulte and Ed Martin are kind of hard for me to distinguish. I would go with my heart's with Bill Pulte. I really don't know between the two. Although I feel like Lindsay Halligan is sort of like maybe end up being like Trump. She's got a brand. The
Mm,
brand may kind of overwhelm things. What do you think?
I'm going Pulte, but
Okay.
mostly because I think his thing is the funniest on this list.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm.
I mean, obviously not maybe not fun for those on the receiving end, even though they're, juries keep being like, no, we're not doing this. And then of
Yeah.
course, inevitably you find out like Trump has done the same thing. It's just like it's a little bit funny to have this like rabid pit bull who like the best assignment he could get is this random little housing office. And he's like,
Right.
don't worry, sir, I will weaponize everything at my disposal. And that is just like having these poor schlubs kind of sift through mortgage paperwork looking for errors. Like it's a little
It's
comical.
but it's also striving, right?
Yep.
Everybody's gotta, you find yourself in different places in life, and you know, you sort of you do the best you can in your station in life, and you try to do more than people thought you could do,
Right.
and
There's
and that
a
kind of
respect for the hustle here. Everyone
yeah,
else on this
yeah.
list has fairly prominent roles in the
Yeah,
administration.
I mean, if
He
you
got
think about it,
stuck with
Ed Martin
nothing.
literally has the weaponization czar.
Yeah.
Like, you're king of weaponization. Like, that's to your point about, like, who would have thought this, like, kinda random housing, depart like, king of housing paperwork.
Yeah. It's
Like,
like
what
a
would you
no
do with
small
that?
roles, only small actors kind of situation
Exactly,
here.
exactly, exactly. Okay, I think
So
we're
who are you
alright, so
going with?
I'm gonna say again, Hart is with Bill Pulte, and I'm just gonna say Bill Pulte, but,
All
like,
right.
yeah.
2 votes for Pulte. And the winner is with
Bill Pulte! Ooh,
29.8% of the
close,
vote. That was a
close.
split field.
Damn,
Bill
damn, okay.
Pulte, quote, oh, I didn't realize how young he was. The 37-year-old scion of a major home building family ensconced as the head honcho simultaneously at the Federal Housing Finance Agency. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, where he's free to rifle through the personal mortgage records of prominent Democrats, as David Kurtz put it.
The reason I know he's 37, and I did not know he was 37, that Jamel Bowie I think he does them natively on TikTok, but he posts these videos he does to Instagram, and I follow him there. And he did one recently, this kind of cheeky but apologetically nasty thing about that there must be something in a lot of these Trump uh, um, appointees, because there must be the inner darkness must make them age prematurely. And he listed off a number of people
Yeah.
who like just look way older than they are. And one was Emile Beauvais, who
Mm,
looks like he's like 41 or some
yeah.
crazy thing, but he looks like this kind of he looks older than 41. And like Bill
Yeah, like,
Pulte was,
Russ Vought is always in those conversations.
yeah,
He's, like,
yeah,
in his
they
30s, and you would guess, like, 50.
right, right. And Bill Pulte was one of them, because like, you're 37, that's young. That's young. And
Yeah.
he looks like a kind of he doesn't look bad exactly, but you'd figure he's maybe in his early 50s or something, you know. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how I knew he was that old. And as we see here, so um Ed Martin was second with 28, but this was like a tie all around. Like, I'm looking here, Scott Bessant got 21.5 and Lindsay Halligan got 20.7. So like the distance between the winner and and the last place is like, I mean, this is like a photo finish basically.
Yeah, our colleagues write this was the closest category by far. So, which I think is actually the mark of like a good nominee slate.
Yeah.
There's no kind of obvious. This is how award shows are every year. Like the most
Yeah.
interesting category is the one where there's no kind of clear favorite.
Yeah, and here, I mean, I like I wouldn't have been shocked if Lindsay Halligan actually won, because like I don't think she's in the league of these of certainly not in the league of Pulte and Martin, but that was ongoing for a long time, right? That
Hmm.
was like in the news constantly, and Comey made it a big thing, and blah 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 blah. Scott Bessent, I'm sort of like I I'm not even sure how many people even know who Scott Bessent is.
I was gonna say I actually get him confused with what's his name, like Kevin Hastett or something.
Yeah, the other his other another economics guy for Trump.
But they do the same. I feel like they are known for the same thing, which is they go on TV and then they like get embarrassed. Like they're asked about tariffs and they say something goofy and then that clip kind of makes the rounds. They're like two different fonts of that same guy.
Yeah, no, that is definitely. And the funny thing is that Hassett has been, Hassett has been kind of like an economics policy guy back into the Bush era. You know, he'll have a sinecure at AEI. He's sort of been a made person in that world, but always known as someone who's like willing to say pretty absurd things. He actually co-wrote a book with another guy whose name escapes me at the moment, back in, I don't know, 2003 2004, that was called Dow 36,000. And it was like, it's coming around the corner. And I think it came out like right before it may have come out right before the dot-com bust. I mean, now obviously the Dow is well over that, you know, so okay, like maybe it's not quite as silly, but I mean, this was like 25 years ago, right? So he's always been seen as a bit loopy. Basant is, is kind of a fairly established, hedge fund kind of guy. But you're right. In this administration, their role is someone who is sort of like, officially an economics person in some sense. And they cart out there to say, like, yeah, tariffs are great for economic growth. It's awesome. And we're doing
Exactly.
great. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so our next category is biggest journalism fail. Here's our little meta looking at the media
Yes.
category. And the
Yes.
nominees are Signalgate, of course. I'm sure
Hmm.
everyone remembers this, but when Pete Hegseth and co. accidentally invited Jeffrey Goldberg into their clandestine signal chat, and discussed, military strikes in detail. It gave us some emoji use that has really become part of my personal lexicon. It's like the fist pound, flame, American flag combo. Next is Olivia Nuzzi goes hiking the Appalachian Trail. Everyone who listened to our recent episode will be really all over this
Yeah.
particular story.
Yeah.
The next is the New York Times versus Zohran Mamdani, which is a really interesting entry, I think. And this is about
But
how
very
the New York
niche, very
Times,
niche.
yeah, both editorially, or both, on the opinion side and on the news side, were just institutionally against the Mamdani candidacy pretty openly. I have to say, it was a fairly flagrant, uh, rebuttal to the like, well, we have an opinion page, but our news page is straight shooters. Like, this was clearly the institutional position of the paper, and it was
Yeah.
completely uniform in the kind of, facts only section as well as the opinion.
But
And
still but niche, very
yep.
niche, I think. Yeah.
And then last is Lindsay Halligan fails to go off the record. Okay. To be completely honest, I thought this scandal was kind of stupid, and it got like so much attention for being like kind of insubstantial. It basically boils down to Lindsay Halligan didn't like the tweets of this legal reporter and was like messaging her on Signal displeased about it, but their conversation was not actually really substantive. Like, the only kind of newsworthy part of this conversation is that someone with such like a highfalutin job title is just texting with a reporter and then does the kind of silly thing where at the end she's like, by the way, this was all off the record. So, it kind of added, I guess, a little bit of intrigue that the reporter got to say like, no, it's not, I'm publishing the whole thing. And but what was
Yeah.
discussed was never actually like news. The news of
Yeah,
it
it
was
wasn't.
just the kind of buffoonish handling of the whole thing.
Yeah, and exactly right. And so it's really just that she got shot down for this after the fact. I'm going off the record, which is totally not kosher for a someone in the world of politics and news. There are some reporters, for very good reason, if you have what I think of as a civilian you're talking to, someone who's coming at this totally new, you might allow them to say, wait, I was off the record, right? Because they're not, because you're pulling them into a new world. It's not up to them to know. But US attorney, it that how this goes. You can't decide later, I wish I wouldn't have said that, and then that, whatever. So it was just, yeah, it was, there's an element of insubstantiality. I continue to think that while the Times Mamdani thing is rock solid on the merits, it's very niche. It's like an indie film. You may love your indie film, but it's not going to win the Oscar. It's very niche, right? I would be shocked if this is not Signalgate or Olivia Nuzzi. And I don't know, Olivia may win this just on the recency count, if for nothing else. What do you think?
Well, I did want to say before you moved off it on the kind of not taking advantage of civilians versus like savvy political operators thing.
Yeah.
Um, this Susie Wiles piece just came out in Vanity Fair that has
Yeah.
everyone so abuzz, where she kind of like shit talks a lot of people in the administration, and it is, doing something like, oh, what we did with USAID was horrible. I didn't like that. I don't like the tariffs, And I think it's so obvious what's happening. Like, it's just really clear to me that she's like eyeing the exits and doing some legacy burnishing on her way out, distancing herself from some of the greatest evils. But so many people have credulously said, like, well, maybe she didn't realize she wasn't on the record, or maybe she, wouldn't expect him to write an article with this information. It's like, She is the White House chief of staff
Yeah.
inviting a reporter into her office 11 times. She had no expectation of privacy. She knew this would be published. Everything she said on purpose.
And a lifetime political operative. Like,
Right.
she's in a very different echelon now, but my understanding is, and I'm, uh, have a pretty clear recollection of this, she has been a political person and lobbyist in Florida for basically like her whole adult life. And so these things. And also the kind of like, wait, I didn't know you would focus on when I told you Trump has the personality of an alcoholic. I mean, I just said that, but like, why did you, I mean,
I know.
only Trumpers are so stupid that they would buy this like, oh, she was treated unfairly. I mean, come on. And
They're not though.
yeah,
I've seen so many people who are otherwise like smart acting like that's a credible reading of what happened. And then on top of it, look at the response. They had a coordinated like everyone who's important in the Trump administration basically came out saying like, "Oh my god, I would die for Susie Wiles. I love her so much." Like, please, please, can we have a little bit of savvy looking at how political operators are using the media? Come on. Anyway, I just
well,
had to get that off my
this
chest.
was an example to me that I don't even know if she's leaving, because to me this was just the ultimate flex. I can literally say that Trump is a deteriorating, sort of degenerate, doing all sorts of stupid things, and I am golden. I am not, it will not hurt. And I believe, I didn't see this myself, but I heard from several people that Trump got asked about it yesterday afternoon. He's like, yeah, I agree with her. Yeah, good point, Susie. Okay.
Right.
I mean, all right. So to me,
Digression,
yeah,
but,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so
For a
I'm
second,
gonna
I thought she was a nominee, but she's not. We're back
no,
on
no, it
Signalgate
just
and
the
Olivia.
Halligan thing really makes me think of it. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
going with, Olivia, obviously.
I'm going with Olivia too.
Okay, and the winner is ooh,
What?
NYT
What?
versus
What?
Mamdani
What?
with a whopping
What?
37.2% of the vote.
What? Ah,
Runner-up is
Olivia.
Signalgate with 34.3, so Olivia is not even
Man, I
one of the
mean,
leaders. Maybe people got a little bit, like,
overdone.
oversaturated with her stuff.
I mean, I guess I'm this is embarrassing for me, because I, of all people, I think am forgetting here that TPM is a place for niche people.
Yep.
We are the indie cinema of the news world.
So
So I shouldn't have been
Al
surprised.
Allegra, TPM's Allegra Kirkland wrote this entry. She wrote, "The New York Times was less than subtle about their antipathy towards Zohran Mamdani during the New York mayoral race. A year after announcing an end to endorsements in local races, the editorial board ran a bizarre anti-endorsement of Mamdani." I forgot about this,
Yeah.
calling his progressive campaign platform uniquely unsuited to the city's challenges, while essentially endorsing disgraced ex-governor Andrew Cuomo. The paper subsequently published an investigation into the candidate's unsuccessful application to Colombia that showed that Mamdani, who grew up in Uganda and whose family is of Indian origin, checked both Asian and African American on the form. As it turned out, the piece relied on documents hacked by a self proclaimed white nationalist. We love objective journalism. Whew. When you put it like that.
Yeah, no, like I said, I gotta defend myself. I said it was rock solid on the merits. I didn't think it was going to be a crowd favorite. But no, it is, it that one part they mentioned about the Times, that they had actually, probably for other stupid reasons, announced they were no longer going to do
Hmm.
endorsements in local races, but there was apparently an asterisk, a
Yeah.
caveat to that, which was, unless you totally suck, in which case we're going to anti-endorse you, just to keep everything. Yeah. So
It's funny because it's not like a funny entry. Like, I kind of think it's both really serious and pretty demonstrative of some of like the most glaring problems in our politics, that this
yeah,
kind of like legacy institution was so comfortable just going guns blazing after the progressive, and not just like a progressive, but a progressive who I think kind of the biggest knock against him is that he's untested, not that he's corrupt or dangerous or
yeah,
anything like that, and who at the same time is like generating kind of, you know, unprecedented enthusiasm in the city that your paper covers, it's all
Yeah, well,
very
that
on the nose.
yeah, and there's just it is funny because so much of the Times self-presentation is they are above everything. The
Mhm.
things that matter to like mere mortals, they've got bigger fish to fry. They're kind of very high up in the ether. They're not getting really invested in the things that you small people are getting invested in and stuff. They're kind of keeping the big picture. But like they were very hardcore about this. They were very
Mhm.
very up. And look, I've had certain things that I've criticized certain aspects of Mom Domini about. So it's not that you but like, as you said, it wasn't just they were going to town in the op-ed page. I mean, it was really just sort of like bring me a negative story every day, even stupid
Mhm.
negative stories, like
Yeah.
the thing with the Uganda thing. I mean, like what?
That
I
was
mean, that was
absurd.
that was
It would have
just
been stupid, by the way, if he had lied on his application to Columbia at all because he's, like, 17 years old, who gives a fuck?
yeah,
Also, those things are you have no choice. Like,
yeah.
I
Like
remember when I
you're
was
lying if
writing
you
my
yeah
yeah, when I was writing my college essays, I remember having this immense pressure to, like, plumb my life for, like, the kind of saddest, most, like, pitiable anecdotes to use as my thesis because, like, I remember the ones that people would kind of talk about were, like, a kid who had experienced homelessness growing up, right? And he wrote about that in his essay. And then I was like, well, I'm fucking cooked, like on my way to lacrosse practice. Like, anyway.
No, and,
So,
and and but it's all there's an aspect of this. It's almost like one neat trick. We're kind of
mhm,
like, oh my God, he said he was African American. Like obviously he's not. Liar, trying to get on the woke gravy train, saying you're African American, saying you're this, saying you're that. And he's like, well, I was actually born in Africa.
right.
And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, he was born in Africa. I mean,
It
I
also,
mean,
it kind of reminds me in 2020, one Democratic campaign kept trying to pitch me plagiarism stories. Like, so and so plagiarized so and so in this speech. And then, you would have like kind of two paragraphs that are like resemble each other. And it's just like, everybody
no,
talks in
yeah,
the same boilerplate, the same politician boilerplate. Like, that's kind of again one of the big problems. Everyone's talking like if you ask ChatGPT to write them a political speech. So yeah, a lot of them sound really similar.
yep, yep, yep. No, that
Okay.
that that is one that like if that would have run in like the Free Beacon or like
Yeah.
Daily Caller, I'd be like, okay,
Mhm.
yeah,
Makes
obviously
sense. Makes
they're gonna
sense.
go
Yeah.
for it. But the time, yeah. So okay, all right.
Okay. Our next category is most egregious ring kissing. Our nominees are okay, Mike Braun bends the knee. This is the senator turned Indiana governor who kind of took up JD Vance's call to gerrymander the state, and as we now know conclusively, was unsuccessful. We had little podunk Indiana state senators saying no, so that's kind of a sad state of affairs for him. Colombia accepts Trump's terms of engagement. Famously, this is Colombia being the kind of poster child for university capitulation and getting absolutely nothing in return. Tim Cook and his Golden Idol. God, I love this one. This is, perhaps like the man in charge of the most powerful business,
And
bringing
what
trouble
was
to
the
relief.
object again? Remind me what the actual
I
object
mean, it's
was.
kind of abstract. It's just like gold and glass. It looks like one of those things you give like the humanitarian of the year or
Right,
something.
some
Just one
just
of
like
those
little
like
kind of
odd
abstract
objects.
object
Yeah.
thing. Right, 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 right,
Exactly.
right, right.
And
Okay.
then Bill Cassidy believing bullshit. Famously, this is Cassidy deciding to take RFK at his word, that he would, despite his legacy of proud anti-vaxxerism, that he would leave all that infrastructure intact. So those are our nominees. I'm going for Tim Cook, just because it's such good symbolism. I don't know if there's another episode that kind of captures the atmosphere so neatly as that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what, there's a chance that I really don't know here. There's a chance that Mike Braun gets it for recency. It's a sort of low energy thing that we probably wouldn't have even have noticed if the Senators hadn't bucked him, because then it would have been like, okay, yeah, it's Indiana, super conservative state. They all went along
Hmm.
with it. Whatever, nothing to see here. Um,
If Columbia wins again next year, I'm going into this with a bigger New York bias than I did this
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. I think, well, I wonder how much of that is that um political news Twitter and political news Blue Sky has a very New York, because that's where the people writing the news are.
Hmm.
With the Tim Cook, God, I could definitely see Tim Cook. I feel like Bill Cassidy's been smoldering in the background. I'm gonna say, just to kind of spice it up and not have us saying the exact same thing every time, I'm going to go with Bill Cassidy, and then I'm going to be sad when it's Tim Cook and you win.
Okay.
All right.
Jackie?
What the fuck?
Columbia.
What the fuck? What the
All
fuck?
right. Next year, I'm picking the New York option every time. And it won with a pretty hefty
Yeah, like half the things.
43.6% of the vote, as TPM reader Elizabeth wrote in her submission. Columbia will receive its due recognition because it demonstrated, quote, the worst capitulation to nonsense and the most grotesque pandering from an institution of higher learning. It is hard to argue with that. And the runner up was Bill Cassidy.
All right, so I get some sort of like
Yeah,
vague
there you
sense of
go. Tim
victory.
Cook
Yeah.
nowhere to be found. I guess
Yeah. All right.
that's only a kava bag to me.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a runner. Oh, there's some. Do you want to read the runner-up thing?
Yeah, so let's see. TPM reader BW awarded him the honor for his haplessness, cowardice, and self-debasement that would be comical were not the consequences so grave. After flushing his reputation down the toilet and thoroughly debasing himself, he's likely to lose his seat next year. Let's send him home with a golden duke. Um, that is, I'm glad BW mentioned that, because it really is the cherry on top here that
Yeah.
he's also almost certainly out after this term, and like anybody
Is he being
even
primaried? Is he being primaried?
yeah, he is.
Okay. Yeah.
um but I mean, it's not even that you had to be principal not to do this. I just feel like anyone who's a little more like optically savvy would say, I'm probably not Trumpy enough to kind of survive from Louisiana anyway. So why not kind of go out as this blaze of glory of like, the doctor who stopped RFK, or at the very least, the doctor who did everything possible to prevent his rise. And instead he goes totally spineless, and you won't even get power in exchange. Like, what's it all for then?
Yeah, well, and also he is, like, kind of kept in the mix with, he'll in the last, couple months, he'll say, like, when RFK, got rid of the polio vaccine, I really like to hear from him what he thinks, because that's not what I mean, he should have either done what you said, and I think he was, he was one of the senators who was not retiring, who voted to convict Trump in his second impeachment. So he's for a long time he's been this weird betwixt and between, like doing more than enough to give himself no bona fides in the MAGA world, but also just doing stuff like this. So kind of like he's just kind of political roadkill,
And I do want
basically.
to add his primary challenges. The most serious challengers have yet to come off the sidelines, even though there's some speculation that they will. So as of yet, he's maybe not as kind of done for as it may appear. He hasn't attracted, like, Trump wants Julia Letlow to run against him, and she's still being coy. So we'll see.
Got it. Got it. Okay. All right.
All right, so our final category, the best picture of the Dukes is best scandal general interest. The nominees are Trump's $300 million White House ballroom, kind of, I think everybody knows what that is. Kristi Noem's ghoulish photo ops, I have to say the one where she is, like, in front of all the shirtless guys in the El Salvador
it's really
prison is
hideous.
just
It's
that
just
one is emblazoned, you know?
yeah.
That
Yeah.
has, like, a similar spot in my brain as the first time I saw a photo of the immigrant kids in cages under the space blankets, you know? That,
Yeah. 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 Agree.
uh,
Agree.
podcaster Don Bongino's conspiracy theory fail. I don't
Do you I know I think I know what this one is.
okay, you take this one.
What this one is that he appeared, on, like, Hannity, I think, recently, and, about, I believe it was about the wait, no, it was, no, 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 it was about the, arrest of the, I guess, suspected, now charged, Jan 6 bomber, about that. And they had, kind of within the right wing echo chamber, only a couple weeks before, they had this, this woman who had been, a Capitol Hill cop, I think, and they had come up, based on sort of like walking gait analysis, had like identified her as the person. Just this kind of totally
Mhm.
ridiculous. I'm not even sure. It wasn't even like in like a Daily Caller or Free Beacon. It was like someone's Substack or something. But
I
everyone was
think wasn't
behind.
it The Blaze, Glenn Beck's?
Yes, but I think I believe so. But I think it was like co-published between
Oh, okay,
the Blaze and like the reporter's Substack or something like this.
gotcha.
In any case, so Hannity asked Bongino, um, what happened to the inside job? What happened to because it had come out that this guy was like, a big Stop the Steal guy, whether or not he did the bombing or not. Um, and Bongino had this quote. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he basically said like, I was in the podcast lying business then, and for now I'm FBI, and we just have to say what actually happened. And everybody's
I
like,
think
"Wah,
didn't he
wah, wah,
say
wah.
explicitly, "Well, I was
Can't
being
wait
paid
to
to
get
say
back."
things then, and I will be
Yes,
doing that again, but right now
yes,
this
I
is what
can't
I."
yes, exactly. I can't wait to get back. I mean, he didn't say he was in the lying business, but kind of like, I was being paid to, lie, but I don't know what he's but yes, it was very clear. And that was the thing, kind of like, as we all aspire to do. But for
Right.
the moment, I have this FBI gig,
But
and
I
look,
have
look,
this
my
pit
hands are
stop at
tied.
the
Yeah,
FBI.
what can I do? What can you expect of me?
Totally.
Right.
Okay, yeah, and then our last nominee is Eric Adams' entire mayoral administration.
Yeah,
Okay, so I know I just said that I'm gonna take a more New York focus, but I
yeah.
think this one is gonna be the ballroom.
Well, I think it's gonna be the ballroom, and I think also Nicole kind of let the cat out of the bag in the earlier comment when she said, "Whenever Trump gets in there,
Oh,
you
yeah.
win." So I think, like, I don't wanna say Nicole fail, but, like, this is not perfect OPSEC, right? So
I would call that a Nicole's Easter egg.
yes,
Gotta
that
test
is
how close you're listening.
yes, exactly. So,
And
yeah,
the
and
winner is
yeah,
the ballroom takes the
yeah,
cake, for
yeah.
as one reader put it, the most visually on the nose corruption of the second term and the raw indulgence of the gold plated ballroom funded by shady crypto guys, won with a whopping 62% of the vote. But then for runners up, we had a virtual tie with Gnome's
Very
photo
surprising.
ops with
Yeah.
17.3 and Eric Adams at 17.2.
I I'm a little surprised by that. I mean, again, the sort of the like New York, the new well, like, in some ways, Trump is the New York guy still in some ways, but I, I wouldn't have Eric Adams. That was such a slow burn over so many different things, and that he even things with Eric Adams, it wasn't even only just the corruption. It was also that he wasn't clear he actually was that focused on being mayor.
Mhm.
Like, I think he actually moved to Turkey at the end or something, or I don't even know where he is now, even though he's technically still mayor. There was the whole thing was so deeply weird. The mix of scandal, but also
Yeah.
kind of like, uh, I'll be mayor in spirit, but I'm gonna live
Yeah,
over
it's
in
like
North
even
Jersey, kind of thing.
it does kind of like push that we should have something kind of, how England has like the royal family and then like the actual government. Like
Hmm.
maybe we should have these kind of shadow ceremonial roles because that is all he ever wanted to do was like go to those little, cultural days and say like, New York is the soul of America or,
Or
the
talk up
Paris of
whatever.
America,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
He just, like
yeah,
he really liked doing those, and, like, you can if he was less, like, bribable, you could kind of see him just really wanting to go to, like, ribbon cuttings and kind of do retail politics, like, seems
yeah,
like that's what he likes, so if we could put him in some kind of, like, ceremonial, MC hype man kind of role, I
yeah,
think he would have risen to the occasion. But I will
yeah.
say in
I think
terms,
that's right.
this is general scandal. In terms of like scandal hit rate, if you had weighed it that way, I think Eric Adams would have to win because it was just
Just like
constant
on batting
every week.
percentage. Yeah,
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 exactly. I mean,
yeah.
Trump's is a good choice in terms of like the size of the scandal. I think in terms of like raw dollars we're talking about, that's going to be the biggest. And it's funny because Gnomes is like not really what I think you would think of as a scandal in normal terms. It's more just kind of like a
A sort of hideous
display of
spectacle.
evilness. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. There's also it's funny. I saw something a few days ago, and this is sort of tricky territory in some ways. But someone showed a picture of her, um, what from when she was governor, which is not very long ago, right? This was a picture. This isn't like taking a picture of her when she was 25 and now she's 55 or whatever it is. Um, but a picture of her very recently. And what was jarring about it is what I think we all know now as the MAGA female aesthetic, which is heavily made up, a lot of work and that kind of monologue, and it was just striking. It's just it's part of that world, and you see it, and it was just jarring, and I bring that up because in some ways that has become the that aesthetic um has become the uniform of you sort of put that on to show that you will um make make a sort of flex picture standing in front of a lot of traumatized, almost stripped naked men living in a dungeon
Yeah.
thing. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
the women get the Mar-a-Lago face, and I guess the men just, like, age really fast. That seems to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
what's happening.
That's the thing. I was kind of thinking, what is there a men's one? And not really, not there, but that except yeah, that maybe it's that you have to do various things to look 20 years older than you are,
Yeah,
right? To
could
make
be.
to make to make Bill Pulte look 57 as opposed to 37. Um, but yeah, the Trump thing with the ball. I mean, because the ballroom, it's one of these stories that there's just so many layers to it. I mean, he tore down the East Wing of the White House.
Right.
I
So
will,
there is, like, the viscerally upsetting piece of it as well.
yeah, and like I will. I said this at some point. Like, there's so many worse things he's done. So many, so many things that have such human suffering behind them. But occasionally, I will see again a visual or just a sort of someone writing prosaically. He brought in a bulldozer and they tore down the East Wing of the White House. So they tore down like a third of the White House. Like, what? Like, I just can't get past that, right? And that at least what they what they want to build, now, it's going to be this ballroom thing and like a little annex over on the side, like a little entry corridor, which is the White House
Yeah,
and the West Wing. It's just it's stunning at this basic level that is hard to get past.
totally.
Yeah. All right. I think that was a pretty good Golden Dukes. I think
Hmm.
it's always hard in the Trump era because, I think there was one year where we uh it, it was early in the Trump era that kind of like you're like, is it still funny? Like it's kind of bleak, it's kind of dark, and but I feel like we've sort of had a comeback here, kind of found our footing, right?
Hmm.
What the big scandals are. You had Trump in two of them. It's sort of hard to um you need to kind of cordon him off because he's the
Yeah.
800-pound gorilla. But I think pretty good. And thank you to all our readers who voted. There's voting. You shared a lot of your comments, very kind of like incisive and insightful commentary on why you voted the way you did, suggesting other possible categories, stuff like that. And so, thank you if you participated. Thank you to our staff who put it together. It's a kind of it's a labor of love, but still a labor. So, yeah, yeah, okay. Anything we
Okay.
want to tell our listeners to as we sign off for the year?
No, I think that's it. Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy New
Happy
Year,
holidays.
happy
Happy all those
holidays,
things.
all those things, and thank you for being readers. Thank you for being listeners, and we will be back first week of the year with traditional episode going over Kate and I going over the news of the week, and we will talk to you then.
All right. See you then. The Josh Marshall podcast is hosted by me, TPM reporter Kate Riga, and TPM founder, editor in chief Josh Marshall. The show is produced by Jackie Wilhelm. Thanks to Why Not Jansfeld for our podcast theme song, and thanks to all our TPM members who make this possible. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe wherever you listen.